Hello, this is SimplyExploVenturing, and I'm coming to you from Lafayette Tower Park here, located in East Mount Peter Township. We're right near Lancaster, just east of Lancaster here, along 462, or the Lincoln Highway. And what are we here for? We are here for one of the Lafayette 200th anniversary celebrations. We are here for the troop muster and several other events that are going to occur here today. So without further ado, let's see what this event has to offer. So there's going to be an actor portraying Lafayette, the Marquis de Lafayette. So if you're not familiar with history, he was a French aristocrat that became a soldier in the military here and helped the American cause and helped get French support for the Revolutionary War as well. He served, I believe, as a general. He fought at the Battle of Brandywine and got wounded there. But then later events occurred, and then he got incarcerated by the Austrians. And then afterwards he came and toured the United States from 1824 to 1825. So we are fortunate enough to be part of this celebration because General Lafayette, or the Marquis de Lafayette, came here to Lancaster for 3 days. So the events are occurring here on July 27th, 28th, and 29th. So there's several events going on along both Chester County, Lancaster County. I believe York County is also going to be celebrating him as well. But this is the first of 3 days of events. There were other events that occurred already here earlier today. Oh good, looks like we might get some sunshine after all. It was looking kind of iffy, but yeah, so just continue to come along with me and we'll see what this event has to offer.
Alright, let's line up and let's straighten this line out. That's the line.
So we're gonna come inside here into the hall to check out what's in here.
Wait, Susky, what are you doing?
Oh, feeling really good. So you can see there's other reenactors here as well.
Focus. Focus. Look, I mean, the words are here. You gotta be able to. Here's how I do it. So, first of all, I'll look at the words, and then I'll take my finger and go like that. Okay.
This chest with a whole bunch of stuff in it. Cool. Neat.
So if you take your finger, start at the top. First, go this way. Go slow, and you might recognize this stuff. And then right here. Glory. And then go down.
Where are you guys based out of?
I'm out of York.
Okay.
I got other members in Columbia. I got people out in Bedford, PA. I got people down in Maryland. We're all over. I got people out in Williamsport. So we're all over the
We got
place.
silverware.
Kids are at my parents' house, otherwise.
They'd be here. It's cool. It's a lot of fun. We were at an event last weekend. We were out basically Altoona.
Selling shirts for the Lafayette. 15 and 20 bucks on pins, or $5 stickers are a buck. So this is the new Lafayette Fire Company. They just built this a few years ago. They used to be right next door here, where this tire place is right here. So and then there's the Lafayette Tower, which the park is named for. So right down there is 462, where the fire policeman is up there, known as Lincoln Highway, right over there. And hopefully he'll be arriving by carriage. I'm not sure yet which mode of transportation, if he's going to be coming. Is it going to be authentic, or is it going to be coming on modern transportation? We'll try to wait as much as we can here and capture him arriving.
interestingly enough, is the only conductor I know in history to have died from a baton. In his day, they had a big stick and they would hit the ground and keep time. Kind of, and have drums, and believe drums, I guess. Boom, boom, boom. He hit himself in the foot, became infected back then, you know, gangrene, and he died. So the patron saint of band directors. We're going to do a French march.
Welcome everyone. As coordinator of the Lafayette 200 Bicentennial, it's my pleasure to welcome you here on such a hot occasion. But we appreciate your persistence. Lafayette has arrived. Company. You might think, oh, it's because it's named Lafayette Fire Company, but there's another reason, and the reason is that in a field very close to this property, Lafayette was greeted by 10,000 people in Lancaster on July 27, 1825. And you'll be hearing more about that in just a moment. By kicking off our program today was the Lukens Band. We have our commissioner, Ray Agostino, who is in a different outfit than I saw him in just a few minutes ago, and he's going to be starting our program. So thanks so much for coming.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to our esteemed guest, General Lafayette. Good to see you again.
You as well, monsieur.
So on behalf of the citizens of Lancaster County, it's once again my honor and privilege to welcome the General, our most revered friend and benefactor to Lancaster County. We are most gracious and honored by your return to our county and our country, which you offered your life to help to create, and our beloved county, our county which you helped to preserve. As was mentioned, we're not far from where Lancastrians would have gathered 200 years ago, exactly 200 years ago, for our nation's guest, General Lafayette. But let's go back in time. This was not the first visit of General Lafayette to Lancaster County. In fact, he passed through Lancaster County and Lancaster City on his way to York to visit the Continental Congress in New York. How many remember or know the story, the fact that our very county, our city, was the capital of the United States for a day? September 27th, 1777. How about it? The road that, by the way, you would have traveled on to get here, once again, would have been the road you would have traveled back then to get to York. And then he traveled back through Lancaster County on his way toward Canada in 1778. But let's think about 1770, 1825. The county at that time is already transforming into what we know ourselves today, which is the garden spot of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We are the #1 producing agricultural county in the Commonwealth. Back then, we were part of Penn's Woods. We were actually part of, up to 1729, part of Chester County. We were the first county after the original 3 counties we formed. The original 3 would have been Philadelphia, Bucks, and Chester. We were formed out of the upper part of Chester County in 1729. So back then we would have had what we see today, and we have been so privileged to have our forefathers and mothers to preserve much of Lancaster County. We would have been very much a natural beauty, with Penn's Woods, of course, being forest land, but in the clearing of some of that, it wasn't for necessarily developments, it was for purposes of farming. So as you travel through Lancaster County, once again, you will see many of the same farm fields that were back in the time that your first visit. So as I said, fast forward to today, we are the #1 county in the state. We are also the #1 county in the nation when it comes to preserve farming. We take it very seriously. We're the 6th largest county in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But like I said, we've done very well to preserve many of the aspects that Lafayette would have seen when he was here before. Last week, myself and my fellow commissioners, Josh Parsons and Alice Yoder, issued a proclamation in honor of the General's visit. And I'm going to read just a portion of it. Proclamation, the bicentennial anniversary of the Lafayette Farewell Tour. Whereas the County of Lancaster joins in celebrating American history, recognizing the bicentennial anniversary of the Marquis de Lafayette's Farewell Tour of America. whereas Lafayette was a lifelong supporter of human rights, advocating for religious liberty, racial equality, women's rights, and civil justice, and relinquished his own noble title during the French Revolution. Whereas during his farewell tour of America, he visited then 24 states, always speaking about the ideals of liberty, justice, democracy, and human rights. And whereas Lafayette traveled from Chester County via the Lancaster Philadelphia Turnpike, passing through Salisbury, Paradise, and Lampeter Township before crossing the Conestoga into Lancaster Township. Lancaster Township, we were in East Lampeter Township. Back then it would have been Lampeter Township, and then into Lancaster City. Whereas massive crowds from across the county thronged to greet the nation's guests and to express their gratitude for his essential involvement and support in the battle for America's freedom. Whereas this bicentennial celebration affords each of us a substantive opportunity to learn from our history, to ponder our legacy, and consider our fundamental obligations as American citizens. Now, therefore, we, Board of County Commissioners of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, do hereby proclaim that the County of Lancaster recognizes July 27th to the 29th, 2025 as Lafayette Day, a time to remember the high ideals of Lafayette and to celebrate his farewell tour within our community. Signed, Josh Parsons, Radio, Scioto. Now, as I close, you may be wondering about the uniform. Yes, I did serve. This is not a costume. 22 years, in fact. Retiring from the Pennsylvania Army National Guard, and still actually in the retired reserve. Pennsylvania Army National Guard traces its proud lineage back to 1747, when friend of you, General Lafayette, the Dr. Benjamin Franklin, created the Associators in Philadelphia. Then in 1755, the Pennsylvania Assembly passed the Commonwealth's first Militia Act, formally authorizing a volunteer militia, the forerunner of the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. During the Revolutionary War, Pennsylvania supplied 6,000 troops, 4,500 of them from the Associators, who went on to fight in key battles in and around Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I am proud to represent the history and legacy. It is with reverence, General Lafayette, that I salute you. Lafayette was more than an American Revolutionary War hero. He was an ardent and devoted supporter of freedom, liberty, equality, and independence everywhere, including his native France. Although an aristocratic young Frenchman, he was revered by the United States for his willingness to lay aside his aristocracy and take up the American cause to the point of putting his life on the line. For this, America, and he himself in turn, thought of him as an adopted son. So this is an opportunity to learn more about the man and timeless ideals for which he stood. We are very fortunate to have him here today. And then finally, in 1825, as you heard, very much anticipation. A lot of people came out to see him. There were a lot of people gathered to make sure his visit was a good one that really showed the pride of Lancaster County and its appreciation. 200 years later, I want to thank the people of the Lafayette 200 organization, and particularly I want to thank a couple people. I have a gift. General, I did not give you this before. I will give it to you now. This is the official pin of Lancaster County. I gave him earlier, yes. I gave him earlier a copy of a print of a map that was given to him when he entered Lancaster County back in 1825 from Joshua Scott, and then with it an updated map, so it's in one frame. Today, at this point, I give him the official pin of Lancaster County. He received a copy of the proclamation earlier. There are two people in particular I want to thank on behalf of Lancaster County for bringing us all together to honor and celebrate and remember the general. There's Kathleen Hood, who's the coordinator. you could not have not known about this event. He always went without Ben. He was everywhere. He really appreciate you talking about this. Finally, I heard there was going to be a troop muster and troop review, and so I could not help but get into my uniform, this uniform, on a 90-degree day to honor you. So thank you. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. I want to take a few minutes to talk about the reason that we're all here today. One of the most remarkable figures in both the American and French revolutions, the Marquis de Lafayette. Born into French nobility in 1757, and as I feel his presence behind me, I hope I pronounce this correctly, Gilbert du Motier, better known as Lafayette, chose to forego a life of comfort and privilege. Because at just 19 years old, inspired by the ideals of liberty, Lafayette made the decision to cross the Atlantic and fight for a cause that was not his own. America's fight for independence against King George III's tyranny. Lafayette famously said, "The moment I heard of America, I loved her. The moment I knew she was fighting for freedom, I burned with desire to bleed for her." Even with giving up a life of luxury and wealth, the sacrifice was larger. As France was not officially at war with Britain, King Louis XVI forbade Lafayette from going to America. The British ambassador to France, Lord Stormont, demanded that he be stopped. If Lafayette attempted to leave, he'd be imprisoned. Risking it all, Lafayette sailed away for the Spanish coast and got caught and sent home. So how did we get here today? Simple enough. After promising to return home to avoid prison time, he fled again in disguise, returning to his ship to Port of Spain. He landed in South Carolina after 54 days of sailing. And yet, Lafayette's arrival in America wasn't immediately welcome. He was young, foreign, and lacked battlefield experience. He volunteered to serve without pay, determined to help build a new nation. George Washington recognized something special in him, a mix of idealism, courage, and loyalty, and they formed a bond like that of father and son. Lafayette, for America, put his life on the line in combat, present at Brandywine, Baron Hill, and Yorktown. He wasn't just a symbol of foreign support. He was a true leader who earned the respect of American soldiers. And when he returned to France, he became a vital bridge between the two revolutions, advocating for the same democratic ideals at home. 50 years later, in 1824, Lafayette returned to the republic he helped create at the invitation of President Monroe to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the American Revolution. America had grown considerably since he left, from 13 states to 24. Over the course of 13 months, Lafayette traveled more than 6,000 miles in total across America, met at every stop with fanfare. One of the stops on his tour was right here, at what was Grosse Field in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, on July 27, 1825, exactly 200 years ago today. The area was mostly located between Lincoln Highway and Old Philadelphia Pike. The Lancaster City Infantry, county troops, and the Strasburg Blues were drawn up to receive him, as well as thousands of citizens of Lancaster hoping to get a glance at the American hero. He received a 13-gun salute, and the band played Hail Columbia. There is a stone marker with a plaque commemorating his stop near the entrance to the Rosewood Terrace across the street. In 1943, a community group canvassed this area for interest in a volunteer fire company. Because of the Marquis' historic stop right across the street, they chose to honor him as our namesake, choosing Lafayette Fire Company as our name. In the United States today, we honor him with counties, towns, streets, schools, and fire companies bearing his name, because he stood up when it mattered most. Lafayette reminds us that courage comes from all places and that our country was founded on volunteerism. From the militias at Lexington and Concord, the women who served as nurses, and the networks of everyday people turned spies, America was founded on the backs of ordinary people who volunteered to do something extraordinary. Lafayette's family motto was Cur non, which means why not in Latin. Why not sacrifice? Why not stand up for what you believe in? Why not volunteer your time and energy to help fight for a country for independence? Or just help a local organization? It was his personal call to action. So today, we honor and thank America's greatest volunteer, the Marquis de Lafayette, for continuing to inspire us to help our neighbors and better our communities. Remember, the next time you consider stepping up to do something bold, in the spirit of Lafayette, why not? Thank you.
Merci à vous tous. Thank you all very much. My name is Marie-Joseph Holly-Franck-Gilbert Dumotier de Lafayette. You may call me General for short. And it is indeed my distinct and profound pleasure to accept once again the welcomes and the hospitality of the patriotic citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and of the County of Lancaster. Merci. Not far from here is the David Whitmer Hotel, where a crowd gathered to greet me on that July day of 1825. We made an unexpected stop here, and I alighted from my carriage on the upping stone. This part of the country I traversed many times, as you have heard. You have heard as well that I made a rather arduous journey by sea to come to America when I was but 19 years old. And I wish to share with you a few moments of my earliest days here in America. Because when I arrived in America, it was lost upon me at the time, though it is no longer, that the first people to greet me when we slipped into Georgetown in South Carolina under cover of darkness, the first people to meet me were two enslaved oystermen attached to a plantation. And it did not dawn upon me until years later that my journey here on the continent of liberty began by being welcomed by men held in bondage. And in the days since independence was won, I have taken it to heart that the words in our Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal referred to all men. And it has been my goal to see. It has been my goal, as Pennsylvania has led the nation in doing, to see the institution of slavery eradicated, because only when that happens can the ideals of liberty and equality truly be achieved.
Yes.
Of course, when I arrived in Philadelphia, 19 years old, waving my letters of recommendation from Dr. Franklin in the face of the Congress, they did not know what to do with me. I did not know that I was merely the latest in a long line of fortune-seeking volunteers who sought to profit off of the American Revolution, who bore no desire to serve the cause of liberty and independence. And this, of course, was never the case for me. I swore an oath to conquer or die for America. And when I was at last granted an audience to speak before the Congress, I stood before them, as I stand before you, and with what little English I then possessed. I told them that after all of the journey that I had made, I had earned the right I felt only to two favors: to serve your cause and to do so at my own expense as a volunteer. And upon hearing that I would be of no expense to them, Congress became very interested in my services, as they were entirely preoccupied with money. Perhaps it is different in your time, perhaps not. And so they made me a major general at the age of 19. This was to be a decorative rank, an honorary commission. But this is not why I had come to America. I wanted to fight. I began to question why it was I had traveled all this way. But shortly after receiving my commission, I was invited to dine with members of the Congress at the City Tavern in Philadelphia. And the guest of honor at this dinner was to be none other than General George Washington himself. And his presence in the room, it was unmistakable. It seemed to draw the very air from the chamber. And he sat down at the table looking at me, a thin youth in a new uniform. He must have considered me nothing more than a young puppy dog who had wandered in off the street. But if these were his thoughts, he did not give voice to them. He complimented me on the spirit and sacrifice that I had shown in support of the American cause, and told me it would please him if I called the quarters of the Commander-in-Chief my home, and considered myself a part of his family. And this word struck out to me as a sort of bold family, because in French the word famille is very similar, but it refers only to relatives of the blood, you see. I learned shortly thereafter that His Excellency was referring to his military family, the officers in his headquarters who performed the duties of aides-de-camp. But for a moment, I believed His Excellency was announcing his intention to adopt me as his son right there in the city tavern. We sorted it all out. In time, of course, General Washington has come to be as much of a father for me as I have ever known. And I flatter myself to think that he thought of me as a son, perhaps one that he had never had, as he had no sons of his own. But I wish to return to one thing that Monsieur the Commissioner said when he said he served in the Pennsylvania National Guard. And though he may not know it, even the very fact that he served in the National Guard does me a great honor. Because when I returned to France, amid the tumult of the Revolution of 1789, the cities in France formed bourgeois militias to protect the citizens against the armies of the king, whom they thought did not have the interests of the people in mind. And they called these cities La Garde Nationale. And I was appointed by the General Assembly, the National Assembly of France, to be commandant of the Garde Nationale de Paris, and therefore the commanding officer of all of the National Guards in the city of France. And when I returned to America in 1824, a unit in the New York State Militia, I think it was the 6th or 9th Regiment of Artillery, decided in honor of my service to rename themselves the 1st Regiment of the New York National Guard. And one by one, the other state militias changed their name in a similar manner. And so it is your National Guard, monsieur, that is named in honor of the Garde Nationale de Paris, which I had the honor of leading in the Revolution of 1789 during the fall of the Bastille. The approbation of the American people for my conduct in our revolution and the vicissitudes of the European revolutions that followed is for me the highest honor I could ever hope to achieve. Well may I continue to stand firm and proud when in your names I can say that I have remained ever faithful to those American principles of liberty, equality, and true social order, the devotion to which, as it has been since my earliest youth, so it shall continue to be until my latest breath. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous souhaite tous et toutes une très agréable continuation de votre journée. I wish you all a very pleasant continuation of your day. Thank you very much. Inspecting the troops that have assembled in my honor, and I invite you all to remain.
Lafayette Fire Company, 1st Regiment, PA Regiment of the Continental Line, 45th PAI, Company K, Ed Thompson, SAR, and everyone else who has gathered here today to make this day special. We are going to be inviting you to follow our procession with our regiments and Lafayette up to the front of the fire hall. We have a surprise in mind. We hope you enjoy it. And after that time, you get to go inside, cool off, get some food, get some beverages, and we wish you a delightful day. Thank you so much for being part of this commemoration.
Thank you.
Take your hand in the Quaker fashion. Pennsylvania. General Washington, of course, does not take hands. He is a Virginian, so he bows. But I am not bound by such customs.
So what's our shot now? Is it going on that thingy?
I'm wondering if they're gonna do a water salute.
Oh, okay. What's a water salute?
They use the water cannon, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Huzzah!
Of course. Hello, young man. Say hi to Lafayette.
Come on, let me get the
Don't be afraid.
right here.
We are all on the same side. Look at the camera.
Hey, there you go. Perfect.
You
want to photo?
No, I'm good. How old are you, my young friends?
Had to wait till it turned on.
Of course.
So I present to you Major General Lafayette here.
Bonjour à vous tous. Vive l'Amérique. Vive la liberté.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I already filmed that stuff. It's just going to cool down really quick. I'm going to see if I get myself a pen.
Sizes where the t-shirts, 2XL.
2XL, 1.